Senate. The House Financial Services Committee has actually launched an outright investigation demanding any documents that Wells Fargo might have that show who knew about this aggressive banking behavior. House Financial Services Committee Chairman Jeb Hensarling has called on CEO John Stumpf and top executives to testify later this month. The Texas Republican joins us right now. Thank you for being here. I don't know if he'll agree to come before you guys after what happened today. Do you think he will?
Well, he may not have a choice in the matter. The bottom line is we're going to get to the bottom of this because millions, potentially millions of customers have been ripped off by Wells Fargo, and they've also in many respects been ripped off by their government. I mean, there's an open question. How can something of this massive scale that's obviously been going on for years right under the noses of hundreds and hundreds of federal regulators who are either embedded at Wells Fargo or have gone to conduct examinations, how does this go on so long? I mean, why does it take the LA Times to break this story when we're paying federal investigators to investigate? But we're going to get to the bottom of this because there could be violations of the Truth in Lending Act, the Truth in Savings Act, the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, and a whole host of other consumer protection laws. And our committee is going to get to the bottom of this, so we've launched a full investigation.
And Congressman, you don't just want to talk to John Stumpf. As I understand it, you've requested top executives, and today the claws were out, as many of the senators zeroed in on whether any of the millions of dollars top Wells Fargo executives, including Carrie Tolstead, who was in charge of the community banking group there, they want it clawed back. Let's listen to some of that, and then I'll ask for your response.
To not invoke some degree of clawback for yourself and others involved would be committing malpractice.
Will you personally support clawing back any or all of the pay for the person in charge of compliance?
The one person who was responsible directly, other than yourself, for making sure this doesn't happen isn't in front of this committee today. In fact, she's walked off with a pretty good deal.
She is Carrie Tolstead, as I already mentioned. Will you subpoena her if she doesn't agree to come before you? Do you even want to hear from her?
Well, absolutely, we do want to hear from her, and we will subpoena documents and witnesses as is necessary. But it is beyond belief or credibility that this could go on and somebody up the food chain didn't know about it. I mean, it went on for years. We're talking about 2 million improper accounts. We're talking about thousands of fired employees, and how could this go on at this magnitude for this length of time and somebody up the food chain not know about it? We've got to get to the bottom of this. The customers of Wells Fargo deserve justice, and we need accountability for these government agencies that are in charge of enforcing the law. I want to find out, why did it take the LA Times to break the story? Why was this the Los Angeles city attorney? Where was the OCC? Where was the CFPB? Why did they come in so late in the game?
And to that end,
they have immense powers, and this is their job to enforce these basic consumer laws, and it appears they were asleep at the switch.
Dodd-Frank, you've got Sarbanes-Oxley, which requires that CEOs sign off on quarterly reports. And if they sign off on something that turns out not to be true, they must face the consequences for that. You mentioned the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The list does go on. So what do you hope to glean out of your hearing?
Well, again, we want to find out who was responsible, what did they know, and we want to make sure that appropriate civil and if the facts warrant it, criminal penalties are assessed. And we want to find out. I mean, this was basic theft. This was basic fraud. I mean, why did it take so long for this to come to light? I mean, we've had 24 major consumer protection laws on the books for decades. And so supposedly it is the job of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to enforce these. Why did it take so long? Why did they not apparently get into the game until years after the first complaints were aired? And so our job is to make law, and our job is to provide accountability for those who are supposed to enforce the law. And we have a lot of tough questions to ask of Wells Fargo, and frankly, we have a lot of tough questions to ask those in the Obama administration who were responsible for ferreting this out.
Well, let's keep everybody posted, and it doesn't seem to be hurting the stock today. Earlier, the stock started to take a dip during the particularly most cringeful moments of the grilling, but at the moment, Wells Fargo is still up about 2%. So somebody's making money, at least those top people who own a lot of those stock options. Thank you so much, Representative. We'll have you back again.
Thank you.
Jeb Hensarling. Now, while Wells Fargo